Hey folks, how are you doing? I hope you're all well. Welcome to Rustin's Boneyard. Today we are going to be making the most comforting of comfort foods, roast chicken soup. The sun may be shining, the birds may be singing, spring may be in the air, but in my opinion there is no wrong time of the year for chicken soup. Now, it might be that you've roasted a chicken specifically for the purposes of making chicken soup, and that would be reason enough to roast one. However, more commonly what's going to happen is that you've had a roast chicken, you've got some leftovers, maybe you've made broth out of the carcass, you've stored these things, and you are now looking for something quick that you can do with that to create another meal. I've got here some chicken broth from a previous roast from my freezer. I've got a little pot of roast chicken leftover pieces here. So I'm going to show you how to make a very quick, simple, delicious chicken soup out of these ingredients we've got. And the first thing we want to do is we want to make what's called a mirepoix, which is a French word. It's basically the basis of what a lot of sort of French sauces and stocks and these kinds of things are made of. We've got carrot, onion, celery. These are the three primary ingredients, and I'm going to add a little bit of garlic, some herbs, and a touch of other things. So first of all, let's just prep our carrots. We're just going to peel these quickly. I'm going to do it straight into my bin here, the trash, as you guys in America call it. I'm going to give them a quick peel. I'm going to chop them. I want all these ingredients to be small, because the more surface area that makes contact with the pan, that cooks down, the more sort of caramelization I'm going to get. Just take the very end off because it can be a little bit dried out sometimes. And again, we just chop it quite finely. So we're going for roughly equal quantities of these. I've actually got a little bit more carrot, but it doesn't matter. So onion, just cut over the top in a fan, once through sideways, 3 fingers in a row. Now we're going to add a clove of garlic. We don't need a lot. I'm just going to put my hand on the back of the knife, brush it down. I'm going to add a little bit of red chili. I just want some background heat into this soup. And this red chili is just going to provide a little bit of subtle warmth in the background. Lovely fresh thyme here and a bay leaf. Take it off the stalk, just want a bit like this. That's all good. We can take this over to the hob and get it started. So we've got some heat on our pan, and I'm just going to put some butter in. We are going to add the mirepoix, the garlic, chili, and the herbs. Just sweep it all in. There we go. Let that start to soften. Now let's give that a shake. We don't want it to burn, so we just need to keep a little bit of an eye on it as it begins to heat up. I'm going to add some salt. I want to be a little bit careful with salt and soups, because sometimes the broth is very salty depending on how much salt's been added to the chicken when you roasted it. So I'm not going to go crazy, just put a bit in there. And I'm going to put my frozen broth into that pan. We're just going to put the lid on it and let that come to the boil. Got some lovely aromas coming off our mirepoix here. Now I can start to see that any water that's come out of these as I've begun to cook them, you see this sort of white foamy water when you first put them in. That now has started to disappear. So what's going to happen is that they're going to start to quite quickly caramelize. So I'm going to turn the heat down a little bit. I don't want them to catch and burn and become bitter. I don't want the butter to burn. I don't want the garlic to burn. Now while those are doing wonderful things over there, I'm just going to chop up some nice flat leaf parsley, which I'm going to use as a garnish And I don't want the stalks, I just want the leaves. And I'm just gonna finely chop. There we go. So we've got some nice flat leaf parsley there, which we're just gonna scatter over the top of our soup when we are done. There we go, beautiful. Now we can see some colour starting to develop, so we just want to be a little bit careful. A little bit of mustard in, like half a teaspoon. It's just gonna add some heat on top of that chilli, just a background sort of intensity that's going to make this just slightly deeper, slightly more sort of warming and luxurious, a little bit more grown up. If I was doing it for kids, might be a little bit careful about how much mustard and chili I added. It just depends. It depends what your kids like. Now, in addition to that, a little bit of acid, red wine vinegar, just a splash. What vinegars and acids do is they open up our taste buds and they allow the sort of sweetness from the vegetables to flood in a way. So it's like a flavour enhancer. Salt does the same thing, but acids do it slightly differently. If you think what happens inside your mouth when lemon juice it hits your tongue, everything sort of opens up. You know, your taste buds open up, and so that's what we're using this for. It's looking great. I'm just gonna pour this chicken broth into here. And keep this pan, we're gonna need that. There we go. It's all nicely bubbling away. Now I'm going to turn the heat down. We'll just let it all simmer and combine for a few minutes. Okay, this is all beautifully simmered. I'm going to take the bay leaf out. I don't need that anymore. I'm going to take my food processor container and we're just going to pour all of this in. And we can just pour our pureed soup. I'm using a Vitamix, which is really useful because you can puree a brick. This is the point at which you're gonna have a little think about how thick this is. If it starts to feel like a baby food, then you want to let it down a little bit with some water. Now is the moment to taste it. And what we're tasting for is salt and acid. Is it sharp enough to sort of open up our taste buds? Is it salty enough to have a depth of flavour? So I'm just going to have a very little taste. It's great just as it is, which is lucky because it isn't always. Don't be afraid to just trust your own judgment. You know, it's up to you exactly how you season these things. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of these pieces of chicken into here, like this. I'm just going to pop them in. Nice, chunky bits of roast chicken. In they go. And that is going to be stirred through and put back on a low heat. Now, just as that's starting to come to the boil there, we just turn that off. We don't want that to boil. It's going to be really beautifully warmed through now. So let's bring this back over. We've got this lovely, creamy, I mean, you can actually add cream to this, but you don't need to. When it's like this, it's really creamy already. We're just going to scrape that out of our saucepan. All the bits. This is where these spatulas are so useful. It's better than a wooden spoon in that respect. All of this in like this. And then we've got some lovely parsley over the top. And what we've got here is our delicious chicken soup. It's absolutely warming and wonderful and tasty. Give it a go, take a picture, stick it on Instagram, tag me at Rustin's Boneyard. I'd love to connect with you, I'd love to see what you're cooking. Thank you for watching, have a nice day.